came across something this week that really gobsmacked me, but it shouldn't be. It shouldn't surprise me that much. I want to know if it surprises you guys, but apparently, black women are the fastest group growing group of gun owners in the United States. Apparently, some of y'all are trying to get y'all my idea on. Yes. Now, during the pandemic, gun and ammo sales spiked dramatically in the United States, particularly among African Americans, who have in general become the fastest growing group of gun owners in America. Last year, 90% of gun retailers reported increase in gun ownership among black people, with an 87%. You got that right. 87% increase among black women. Wow. According to the statistics, between January of 2019 and April of 2021, of the 48% of female gun owners, 21% were black women. Increased crime and violence are thought to be the biggest motivators for ownership, with black women more likely to be killed with a firearm by an intimate partner. Now, this is just sad. This is really awful. But we talked about this, sidebar really quick. We talked about this on the show. Me and the Rev talked about this some months ago, how this pandemic has essentially really frazzled people's mental health. I'm stunned by it. I'm pretty shocked by it. I'm generally an introvert. I don't mind. I can handle being by myself. It doesn't bother me. But apparently, some of you people can't live without having tons of people around you at all times. Okay, because this pandemic has taken a toll on a lot of your mental well-being, and I'm just shocked at how much domestic violence and mental health issues and drug addiction and alcoholism and child abuse has just spiraled out of control the last 2 years. So I really can understand why a lot of sisters are saying, I need a gun at this point. I can definitely understand this. Now, there is a National African American Gun Association, or NAGA. That had to be done on purpose. That had to be done on purpose. Black women make up the majority of NAGA. Of the 40,000 members of NAGA, the National African American Gun Association, are black women. So not only are black women buying guns in astronomical rates, they are joining gun clubs and gun alliances that essentially represent them politically as gun owners, which is an important development here. Gun sales among black men and women increased 58% in the first 6 months of 2020, according to the data from the National Shooting Sports Foundation, which shouldn't be a surprise. We saw riots everywhere in 2020. Riots and protests. We saw police brutality, George Floyd. I know a lot of people I knew after the whole George Floyd thing were just too through with all of this with America. So I can imagine there's a lot of people who went out and got a gun after the whole 2020 riots. Now, 10% of all gun owners are black, and 37% of those are women, according to The Cut. We talked about this, definitely been an increase in reports of violence against women in last year, the last year on record. And so I understand why black women would feel that they need to pick up a gun. I'm sorry. And unfortunately, I have to say this. And again, we talked about this on the show before, that brothers are the reason that a lot of these black women have to go and get guns. Okay? We can't pretend that there's some, angry amorphous white man who's just going around and terrorizing black women. That's not the case. These women are scared from Tyrone and Tyreek, most of them. And this is an issue that we have to deal with in this country because, as Malcolm X said, the black woman is the most unprotected individual in the country. And he's saying that in like 1960s. Like, imagine what he would say today, unfortunately. Jesus. You know, now I consider myself somebody who's always been pro Second Amendment. As somebody who grew up looking up to people like Malcolm X and Huey Newton, guys who supported black people protecting ourselves, arming ourselves, protecting ourselves when we needed to. That I definitely support. Okay, I definitely have always supported that on some level. But I think the main reason that a lot of black people don't want to be gun owners isn't necessarily because they're scared of the guns themselves, but it is because much of the trauma in our communities are connected to guns. And that's something that we don't really deal with a lot in our society, is the amount of trauma
Hey, what's up, Gary?
that black people are dealing with, unfortunately. And so when stuff like that happens, where shootings happen in our communities, drive-bys constantly, places like Gary, I mean, we were the murder capital of America for a long time. We're right next to Chicago, which is probably the preeminent city known for murders in the world at the moment. You know, there's a whole lot of trauma associated with these cities, with this generation, with this community. And I mean, like I said, a lot of that is really unfortunate, and we have to deal with that. And I think we have to say a big part of the other reason why we've essentially been groomed not to care for guns is, our relationship with white liberals. I have to say it. I just have to come out and say it. Okay? White Hollywood liberals, white Manhattan liberals, San Francisco liberals, the people you see on MSNBC who live in safe, gated communities and then rail against guns all day and talk about how, in Canada, people don't have guns like this. I mean, a lot of them have sort of groomed us into being anti-gun, But they don't have to live in the types of communities that we do. Nancy Pelosi and all them don't have to live in GI or south side of Chicago, on the west side of Chicago, Lawndale. She don't have to live there. Back of the yards, Austin, South Chicago. She don't have to live in those places. Flint, Detroit, Cleveland. Nancy Pelosi and Hillary Clinton and all these sort of uppity liberal types don't have to live in the type of circumstances where their life is in danger on a daily basis. And when they do have a situation where their life is in danger, guess what they have? Armed guards. They have armed guards. You better believe Nancy Pelosi's security has guns. You better believe the Clintons' security have guns. And all the women on The View and all the Hollywood celebrities that you see that are always talking about, oh my God, we have to get rid of the guns. In France, they don't have these guns. Look, I guarantee you just about every single one of them got an armed guard with them. If not 24 hours a day, close to 24 hours a day. Now, another big problem with this situation is the NRA. The NRA is a two-faced organization that is really just a cover for the Republican Party. That's all they are. They claim to be a pro-gun owners' rights organization, but when Philando Castile needed the NRA, where were they? nowhere to be found. Philando Castile was a legal gun owner who was killed in a traffic stop trying to give his gun owner's card to a police officer who asked for it. And that man was killed right in front of his girlfriend and their daughter on Facebook Live. NRA did nothing. The NRA has done nothing to support black gun owners whatsoever. All they've ever done is, you go back to 1967, they had the Mumford Act under Ronald Reagan. They supported Ronald Reagan prohibiting the open carry of loaded firearms because of the Black Panthers. So the NRA has no problem with white dudes screaming about freedom and trying to, overrun the Capitol. But let the Black Panthers be peaceful, and they're up there with Ronald Reagan trying to disarm as many black people as they can, even if they're legal gun owners. Legal gun owners. Now I think it's very important. Before I get to this caller, let me just give props to this one individual who actually died this week in 1996. Robert Franklin Williams, Robert F. Williams, the civil rights leader and author, who was, he was the guy who was one of the people most instrumental for promoting black armed self-defense in the United States. I think everybody needs to read his book called Negroes with Guns. Negroes with Guns. If you're somebody who has an interest in guns or just an interest in the civil rights movement, learn about Robert F. Williams and his book Negroes with Guns. This was a man who protected black people in Monroe, North Carolina from the Ku Klux Klan. The local chapter of their NAACP supported the Freedom Riders. In the summer of 1961, in a test to integrating interstate buses. This book, Negro with Guns, has been reprinted many times. It was a text that was widely influential to the Black Panthers and Huey Newton and so many other people in the black communities. As he always said, that there was a need to sometimes meet violence with violence. And as Malcolm X said, self-defense is intelligence. Meeting violence with violence is intelligence. But let me get to this caller. Let me see what you guys have to say about it. Hello, caller.
Hey, Scott, real quick.
Yes.
The NRA don't give a damn about police officers that are killed. And I'm not going to even put a race on it because you just had 3 police officers killed within the last 24 hours. 2 on duty, 1 off duty, and the 1 off duty was killed by a 15-year-old.
Was he a legal gun owner?
Yes. No, the 15-year-old was not, but
okay.
the other one that killed the police officer was a legal gun owner. Then you had a Indianapolis about 3 years ago. Black female police officer in Indianapolis going to domestic violence was killed while walking up to the door by somebody who was a legal gun owner. But what I wanted to bring up, Scott, was when we talk about guns, and you brought up about black females and buying guns, I don't know how much research you've done or how much street cred you got or what have you, but I got street kids from Chicago, Gary, and a couple other places. A lot of the guns that you find in black communities they really don't come outside the community. Where they come from is black females. If I'm in a game and I got a girlfriend who doesn't have a record, I get her to go buy the gun.
Yeah, but where did the guns originally come from, though? But where did the guns originally come from, though?
It doesn't make a difference where they come from. It's just like a car.
Yeah.
It's just like a car, and then somebody driving drunk.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, in a lot of our communities, when we want to find out where the guns come from, it comes from legal black, male, and female who got ties with the gang, and they buy the guns. Do you remember where the Ella French, the Chicago police officer?
Yeah. I know. I remember that.
That gun came out of East Chicago from a black male who bought the gun for a friend of his.
Yeah.
And then it ended up in the hands of the person that had it. If you look at, there was a situation that happened in Chicago to where a guy bought a gun out of Indiana from a friend of his. He was a security guard. His niece got into a fight with another girl. He gave her the gun and told her to shoot the girl. When the gun jammed, he unjammed the gun and gave it back to her, and she killed the girl. And the young lady that did the shooting was only about 14 years old.
Oh yeah. Look, I'm not saying these things don't happen, but the NRA definitely they've been very
NRA
critical.
Don't give a damn.
Well, they
All they want to do is sell guns because there are a lot of legal gun owners that have killed police officers, and you don't hear the NRA saying nothing about it.
Well, all the NRA does, the NRA in 2017, they warned about the blatant violence and racism of Black Lives Matter that could lead to the massacre of whites. They've repeatedly denounced taking a knee to protest racism and police brutality. The NRA has done, they've always been pro-police. Okay, they are definitely pro-police. They are,
They are pro-police, but
yes.
like right now, you got 3 officers that's about to be laid to rest.
Okay.
We had an officer right here in Gary, a good friend of mine, Jeffrey Westerfield. There was nobody from the NRA there. And guess what? The gentleman that shot him was a legal gun owner.
Okay. Well, all right.
So the NRA, I don't think nothing about it. I'm a Second Amendment man, but when it comes down to what the NRA stands for, I don't stand for them. I stand for anybody that's going to protect themselves. But what I would tell anybody, just like we just had this gun law changed in Indiana to where you don't have to be licensed and carry a gun, you're going to get a lot of situations to where you are going to get people who, quote unquote, are punks. And they're going to be over 18 years old carrying guns. And
right.
all of a sudden, their chest is stuck out now.
Right.
And you're going to get a lot of shooting to where people feel I'm a gun and I'm tough now. But you also going to get a lot of incidents to where people think because I got a gun, I'm tough. My years in the LOE, I went to plenty of crime scenes where people still had their guns on them and were dead.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Night,
all right, thank you. I agree with the caller on some level. That a lot of people are thinking that they're tough because they have a gun, and a lot of these guns are coming from legal gun owners. But the NRA, at least on the surface, are very much a pro-police organization. They have law enforcement, firearm competitions. They have officer benefits. You can get a officer line of duty death benefit from the NRA. Like they have national police shooting competition. Seriously, they have a law enforcement exploring marksman qualification. You can do that. You can hear Ollie North, Oliver North did a whole thing talking about how the NRA stands with America's police. They have the Back the Blue program. They have a law enforcement division. The NRA is they're pro-police when they want to be. They're pretty damn pro-police when they need to be, folks. They really are. I am definitely worried about all of you out there. Like I said, thank God we live in a Second Amendment state like the state of Indiana, the great state of Indiana, that allows us to protect ourselves when need be. And so those of you who feel like you need to protect yourselves, whether it's from the boogie woogies or the woolly bullies, make sure that you do your research. Like I said, Robert F. Williams' Negroes with Guns is a classic book that inspired the Black Panther Party and the African American Defense League. So remember, there's also the National African American Gun Association, or NAGA. You can join NAGA. You know, you can join other gun owner, black gun owner membership organizations. And remember, the NRA is not your friend.